What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Bucket of Chum. As always, I'm your host, Captain Steve. This week, we're talking about Chum from 2024, directed by Josh Graves. This movie just came out on TUBI as this recording, probably like a week ago or something like that. I did a trailer react for this a while ago, so I already have like a vague idea of kind of what to expect for this movie. And I did that trailer react on YouTube. So if you haven't, make sure you go and follow the YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/at Bucket of Chum Podcast. And make sure you follow me on all the social medias at Bucket of Chum Podcast. That's Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. And if you really want to support the podcast, if you can go to patreon.com/Bucket of Chum, sign up for only $2 a month, and you get a free episode, newsletter, and all kinds of other stuff. And if you can't afford to do that, if you could just sign up on the free tier, I'm going to start dropping reaction videos and all sorts of stuff like that. So anything you can do to help out the podcast is greatly appreciated. And make sure you leave a 5-star rating or a review wherever you're listening. And let's dive back in. So this is the Letterboxd plot synopsis. You're gonna need a better vaccine. I should mention the original title for this movie was The Last of Sharks, which is supposed to be a take on The Last of Us, the video game TV show. I have not seen either. I haven't played the game or seen the show. I kind of know enough about it to get an idea of what it's about. But there's probably references in here that I'm not going to get. So if you've played the game or seen the show, maybe you'll be able to know more than I will. I do want to check the show out at some point. I mean, it's got Pedro Pascal. Why wouldn't I? Just haven't gotten around to it yet. There's too many good TV shows and too much bullshit going on. So, but yeah, anyways, let's get back into this plot synopsis. In a not-so-distant future, great white sharks have gone extinct. Overfishing, climate change, pollution have all contributed to the species' complete annihilation from the seas. But land may be their new hunting ground. When a mad scientist plays God and genetically engineers a shark human, he unleashes the highly viral monster on the unsuspecting citizens of a nearby small town. Now, a group of friends must band together if they are to survive the sharkopocalypse. Run, hide, fight, or be turned into chum. Fucking love it. This is just like the kind of nonsense that I am all here for. It has an average rating of like I don't think there was quite an average yet because there's not enough reviews on there, but just from scrolling through, it kind of ranges from like half a star to 2 stars. But as I said, not a lot of ratings yet. I did read one review though that was kind of funny. The guy said that he actually contributed to it through like Indiegogo or Kickstarter, whatever. And he originally put the money in because the movie was called The Last of Sharks. And I guess he seemed a little less than impressed, but not too bitter, which was nice. But I just thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, the movie's just called Chum now, but it was originally called The Last of Sharks. But as I said, I've already seen a trailer for this, so my poster expectations, I'm just going to give like my trailer expectations. We see puppet sharks. Those are the sharks they use in this movie. You could probably actually buy them on Amazon. I'm pretty sure I've seen them on there before. And yeah, it's just a bunch of little puppet sharks. That's what they use for the sharks in this movie. And fuck yeah. And I remember seeing that in the trailer, and I was very excited about that. Because I don't care if your movie's super low budget. If you make it funny and like just entertaining enough, then man, puppet sharks are great. I'm all here for it. Speaking of, at some point I am going to cover the movie Puppet Shark. In case you didn't know, there is a movie called Puppet Shark done with puppets, and I cannot wait to see it. But yeah, at some point I will cover that. But for now, I guess there's nothing else left to do other than turn my cum into chum, and let's dive in. And no, don't ask me how somebody would turn cum into chum. All right, just roll with it. We start off with a little bit of text just telling us that the great white shark has become extinct, and now some company is trying to bring it back to life, and they're using zombie ant fungus, and I guess they succeeded in making one batch, and they, or a new species, they say, and then this is what happened. So I am guessing that this is more of a nod to The Last of Us that I'm just not understanding, but, yeah, obviously somebody's creating some fucked up virus shit, and it's all gonna go to shit at some point. That's what I'm assuming here. Then we get what I assume is like archival footage of a guy making this second species, I guess. So he has like this shark puppet, baby shark carcass on a table or whatever. But anyways, he's got this severed head. We just see the back of this head, and he's taking blood out of the head and blood from the first batch of sharks and putting it into this new shark. This takes fucking forever too. This takes a very long time. And then like he injects the shark with it and it starts coming to life. And then he gets this phone call from this guy named Marcus. We meet a character named Marcus in a little bit here, but I don't think that this is like the same Marcus he's talking to. Like, I feel like there's just two people named Marcus, or there are some very loose plot threads here. Like, I don't know. But basically, we learn that Marcus was carrying a cooler of these baby great white sharks, and then he lost it, and so now they've been set loose on this town. That's basically it. So they wanted to bring back the great white shark, because it was killed due to overfishing and it's an important part of the ecosystem. But then they don't really do that. They make it into something else. And it's not really clear why. I don't know if there's supposed to be a sequel, or again, maybe this is just supposed to be more of a nod to The Last of Us and references that I don't understand. After that, we get this reporter interviewing this woman named Dr. Strauss, and I guess she is the one that's behind creating this new breed or species of sharks, whatever you want to call it. Throughout the conversation, it sounds like they're using the corpses of great whites to make these new species, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Like, did they go around collecting great white shark corpses and then freeze them until they could do something with them? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. I'm thinking way too much on it, but yeah. And they go into a bunch of science jargon on how they do it. And then they go back and forth on the ethics of doing this, and they're basically like playing God. Yeah, the reporter even says, like, before the interview starts, that she doesn't even really care about the questions. She's just doing it for her job. So, like, low stakes here and doesn't really matter. And I'm pretty sure we don't even see this woman until, like, the end of the movie when I realized this when I rewatched it. I guess it's just a exposition dump, really. We see this, like, very tattooed woman. Amazing tattoos. Really cool. I don't know, she's, like, her whole body is basically tattooed from head to toe. Like, basically from her neck down is just, like, all kinds of tattoos, which was just really cool. I don't know why I need to point that out, but yeah, just picture it. It's neat. Anyways, she's puking in the toilet. So immediately I already know, I'm like, hey, this woman's pregnant, and this is going to be, part of the movie now, because I've seen movies before. And yeah, as soon as she's done puking, she kind of leans up on the tub and then like grabs her stomach, and it's like, well, okay, yeah, we get it. Like, when I first saw this, like, I didn't even immediately think, oh, she's drunk or hungover. I'm like, no, she's gonna be pregnant. Of course she's gonna be fucking pregnant, because that's the only reason they have female characters throwing up half the times, because they're pregnant. I don't care. I don't care that much. I'm just pointing it out. And as she's mumbling too, we learn that it's her birthday. So yeah, she's really sad. But I mean, it's her party, so she can cry if she wants to. Oh god. And then there's two guys at the bar, Danny and Marcus. So this is where we meet this other guy, Marcus, but I really don't think that this was the Marcus that we were talking about earlier at the beginning of the movie. It's just another character named Marcus, as far as I can tell. Unless I missed something, the Marcus that this other dude was talking to at the beginning lost the cooler of sharks. This Marcus doesn't really seem to know much about the sharks other than what he sees in that interview that I just talked about. So I don't know. It's like they named two characters Marcus, or there's some rewrites going on. I really don't know. But then one of them is talking about their girlfriend throwing up, so that's Danny, and he's like not ready to be a father. He's 44 years old. He's too old for this. And then they go back and forth on this for a bit, and then they start talking about how the bar is empty at noon, and it's usually like just bopping at this time, I guess. Which, I mean, a bar at noon really bopping? I mean, I guess maybe it's a Saturday or something, but like, I don't know, should it really be bopping at fucking noon? If there's that many people going to a bar, like, drinking at noon, this town might have a problem. I'm not saying I've never been to a bar drinking at noon or before then, but I mean, you know. And then Marcus turns the conversation towards the sharks and this interview that he saw. I don't know, I guess it's big news right now, so of course they're going to be talking about it. It kind of just comes out of nowhere. It's not really like a natural progression, but you know, whatever. We cut to another scene, and some woman is putting makeup on and petting her cat, Mr. Biggles, adorable cat. And we just see one of the sharks like around the corner, and it starts laughing at her and then ducks away. Yeah, so these little puppet sharks make the most bizarre noises, which again, I'm kind of assuming is from the game or show. Very creepy noises though, actually. Like if they were using these kind of noises in like maybe another movie that wasn't this, it would be like really freaky. If you were on shrooms watching this though, I imagine you might get freaked the fuck out. I actually kind of want to try that now that I'm thinking about it, because that sounds like an awesome time. Well, maybe a terrifying time too, but I still kind of want to try it. Maybe one day I'll try that. That sounds like a good time. But she's basically getting ready to fuck some dude, and she keeps texting saying like, "Oh yeah, you ready?" Blah blah blah. And she gets sick of waiting for this dude to show up, so she passes out. She's watching Night of the Living Dead, because you can use that in a movie for free, in case you didn't know, because there's no actual copyright on it. So if you want to use Night of the Living Dead in your movie, feel free to put it in there. The shark like screeches. We hear like pans clattering around in the kitchen. The shark is just like the shark puppet is just eating away at her cat and screeching very loudly, and the woman sees this and fucking screams, of course. Then we just go away from this. So we're gonna get a bunch of scenes like this where it's the random puppet shark attacks. I'm here for this. This was fun and entertaining. It's silly. The movie looks really cool. Like they just have some kind of like weird like filter on it to try to like match the Last of Us kind of look to it. It looks really cool. So that kind of helps bring me into the movie a little bit, because there's like a little bit of effort put behind that. So I kind of appreciated that. So thank you for the good cinematography with a very silly plot. So far, very enjoyable. We go back with Danny and Marcus, and they're walking out of the bar, and then there's some dude stumbling around, and then he starts like attacking Marcus and ends up biting his arm. And Danny screeches like a little girl and then starts running away. Marcus, I guess, pushes the dude away or something. Later, he's going to say that he kicked this guy's ass, but we don't really see any of that. But, anyways, this zombie like dude, I guess, bit Marcus. And so they have to go back to Danny's place so he can get all bandaged up and whatnot. When they get to the apartment, Kat is taking a shower, and we see one of the sharks kind of look inside the shower, laugh a little bit, and then go back away. So I guess she didn't hear or see this. I'm not sure if the characters can hear the sharks when they're making these noises, because there's a couple of times where it just feels like it's just for us, it's just for the audience, which is weird. It would feel better if it was actually for the people. I know it's weird because usually one of my biggest gripes is like sharks making noises. I don't like sharks making noises when they're in the fucking water and they're supposed to be like a real shark. These are like fucked up little baby shark puppet creatures, so like I don't care if they make noise. That's actually pretty fucking funny, and I'm good with that. And again, I know I kind of complained about it in Shark Girl a little bit, but that movie kind of really sucked, so I mean, I was just pointing out everything. Then we just go to this other random house where a woman's looking after her baby, and the shark's just kind of like lurking around, making noises. And again, I don't think she actually hears the shark or anything. And then after she puts the baby to sleep, the shark makes its way into the nursery. I thought it was going to eat the baby because we hear the baby crying, and then the mother comes into the room, and this is all like super dramatic, slow motion. And she looks at the shark and it's looking at her or whatever, and she just like starts freaking out, and I'm just like, oh man, that baby's dead. But the shark eventually attacks her, it just kind of bites into her noggin, makes her bleed a little bit. And then after the mother collapses, we hear the baby crying. So I guess it didn't get the baby. I guess it just scared it enough to make it cry, so she came running into the room. But the baby's cry was just like a regular cry, so I don't know why she was running in there like it was an emergency. I don't know, maybe because she's a new mom, I guess. I don't know. It's unclear. But hey, then we see titties. Yeah, Kat comes out of the shower. Pretty much the only part of her body, as far as I can tell, that's not tattooed are her boobs. So I mean, hey, we got boobies. We got puppet sharks. We got boobies. So far, so good. And then we just see this shark in the kitchen eating food, snorting coke, and then there's sharks in another bathroom putting lipstick on. I think I'm not sure which house this was in because at first I thought this was going to be in Kat's house, but I feel like we just cut to another house. It's just like puppet shark nonsense, and cutting to like Kat being nude coming out of the shower was kind of out of place. I feel like this shark shenanigan nonsense should have come like before, and then whatever. It's fine. So Danny and Marcus come running into the place and they're looking for bandages and whatnot. And Danny has this thing where he sees blood and he has to smell it. And he says like that's his just a thing that he has. I really don't fucking think that that's a thing that anybody has, but I mean I could be wrong, so I'm not trying to shame anybody, but that's really fucking weird. But yeah, anyways, Kat comes out and starts wrapping up Marcus's arm and whatnot. They're using duct tape from under the sink because I guess nobody has health insurance, of course. I'm obviously, even in the future I imagine it's probably even worse. But yeah, so they're using duct tape to kind of get him all fixed up or whatever. And then Danny goes into the bedroom to start talking to Kat, whatnot. So we learned, yes, she's pregnant. Danny's like, oh my god, is it mine? Of course it's yours. Stop being a dick. Yes, you're old. Deal with it. Use condoms, birth control next time. But then also Kat says like, oh yeah, it's my dream to like go raise a kid and live in the ocean side. And I'm just like, but he says he's never wanted kids and you guys have never talked about this. So like, did she bait him into this situation? Or like what's going on here? Or Danny was just stupid. I mean, he is a dumb character. Like his character is dumb. So I could totally see this either way. But yeah, he gets really pissed off and they argue back and forth. And don't forget, it's her birthday and whatnot. And then just a bunch of nonsense. And again, she reiterates that she wants to move away from there with him so they can go raise the kid together and get away from like Marcus and all his other like bad influences or whatever. So she asks, like, are you going to come with me? And he's like, well, we got to look after Marcus first. And then she's like, well, I guess that's a no. And I'm like, maybe he just meant like, well, in this particular moment, we can't leave because like our friend's arm has been like bit and bleeding pretty bad. But like maybe eventually you could go together. I don't know, but maybe good god. And then we get this like Evil Dead POV as we hear the sharks laughing as we go through a cornfield. And then we end up at this farm and this guy gets a phone call and I think he ends up being Marcus's stepbrother or half brother or something like that. And he's a sheriff somewhere of some sort. And people keep calling him about shark attacks, and he's not taking it seriously at all. And so he just keeps brushing everybody off, and then like hangs up call after call after call. And I'm like, dude, if this many people are calling, like, he thinks that it's a prank. I'm like, who could organize a prank this big, like in a town like this, if there's this many people calling? One, like 3 or 4 would be a prank, but when he's getting like calls all day, I assume he's gotten up to like 15 calls. I'm like, maybe you should look into that. Because, I don't know, maybe there's drugs in the water supply, so maybe people are getting all fucked up. I don't know. I just think it warrants, like, a look-see. You're the sheriff. Just go with little looks. Like, look, oh, yeah, shit, that body's all fucked up. I should look into this. But no, he just keeps hanging up the fucking phone. Like, do you have any idea how hard it would be to coordinate a prank like that? Like, it's impossible to schedule time to, like, sit down with someone for an hour nowadays to do anything, like, even online, let alone pull off some of this nonsense. Like, Jesus. Anyways, after he yells at some people on the phone, he gets some guns and whiskey out, of course, and after hearing some noises, he leaves to get in his truck, and then we just see these 2 puppet sharks drinking out of the whiskey that he just poured. So, like, they're already there somehow, and he didn't notice this. But as he's getting into his truck, a small shark tries to get in through the window, and he screams and punches it. And I think I remember that from the trailer, because he looks like this big tough guy, and then he kind of squeals like a girl, like a little girl, and then punches the shark and then drives off. Pretty good. Like, these are the fucking moments that I'm here for. Like, this is just so good. And then we get some breaking news, and this reporter assures us. And this reporter is like the sweatiest reporter I have ever seen in my life. I don't think they put any makeup on this actor whatsoever, but my god, dude, like, it was hot in the studio or some shit. Jesus. And he assures us, like, his report of baby shark attacks are real. And then he starts showing some videos of people saying there's sharks everywhere and, like, people hiding from the sharks and whatnot. I assume every time I see these kind of little clips, I kind of know that these are probably in the perks of the Indiegogo, where if you pay so much, you get to be in the movie. So you send in a clip for this sequence or whatever. So yeah, that was pretty cool though. Like, I like it. It's pretty easy to point out when it does happen. But yeah, it was pretty cool. My only complaint about this part is that every time they transition to a new video, they do like the static transition, but it goes on for like just a second too long. Like, they could have just cut it down a little bit, made it a little bit tighter, and it would have been better. But again, minor fucking complaints. We go back with Danny, Kat, and Marcus, and then Danny drops a box on the floor saying happy birthday, because earlier he tried to surprise her with some balloons and she got all pissed off about it because that's all he got her. Which, I mean, like, yeah, rightfully so. Because at first he didn't get her anything and then he comes back with balloons. I'm like, appreciate the effort, but, like, try harder. But anyways, she's like, oh, is that the cat you saw down the alley or some shit, blah, blah, blah. The weird thing is when they're intercutting between some of these scenes, again, it looks like they may have tweaked the script at some point, because some of the reaction shots, like, don't make sense to, like, the next line of dialogue, or it was just filmed, like, too far apart. I don't really know, because she looks all pissed off at first, and then, like, a nanosecond later, she's very excited about having a birthday present. So I don't know, it was so weird. But anyways, she opens up the box, and unfortunately there's no cat in there anymore. It's just a bloody puppet shark with probably a cat carcass in there, I would imagine. You don't really see anything though, you just kind of see the bloody shark, as far as I could tell anyways. But yeah, they all start screaming and freaking the fuck out as this, like, shark is just kind of darting around the room everywhere. And then Kat runs off to get sick, you know, because she's pregnant, so she's always getting sick and whatnot. And then Danny and Marcus argue about what to do, and then Kat says her hand is healing. So Marcus points out that, like, she's immune to this virus about the lady on the TV or whatever. And then, of course, Danny has to sniff the hand and, like, oh yeah, it's my thing. And then Marcus looks right at the camera and says, yep, that's his thing. And this is, like, the first of, like, 2 or 3 more fourth wall breaks just out of nowhere. Like, nowhere else in this movie do I remember seeing a fourth wall break, and now all of a sudden we're just breaking the fourth wall. Very strange choice, but I mean, you do you, movie. After Kat has run off, Danny starts searching around the house with a fucking butter knife. And he's like, we can hear the shark is, like, in the kitchen rummaging through the cupboards and the fridge. And then Danny manages to, like, wedge it in between the 2 fridge doors. And then him and Marcus, like, argue about what to do with the shark and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, we need to get out of here. No, we need to stay. So, you know, that whole fucking thing back and forth. And I guess eventually they just decide that they're going to stay there. So Danny and Marcus start looking around the house for what? Not entirely sure. I guess maybe in case there's other sharks there. We haven't really had any indication that there are. I mean, there is, but so far the characters haven't really had any indication that there is. Marcus has started to turn into a zombie or something, so when they go into the garage and they're looking around, Danny turns around and Marcus just ends up collapsing. And then we get one of the greatest sequences ever. Something that I was literally complaining about a couple of episodes ago, and this movie delivered on it. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the dick biting scene. So Danny's in the garage, and we just see something kind of crawl up his pants. Obviously, it's a puppet shark. And then after we cut away for a bit, we cut back to Danny, and this shark pokes out of his pants like it's a fucking xenomorph, and it's holding his testicles in its mouth. And so he opens them, drops them, and then Danny collapses. You see, Shark Girl, that's how it's done. That's how you do a dick biting scene. I didn't even see the dick get bit off, but I saw some blood, I saw the shark coming out, I saw the testicles go on the floor. That's all I'm asking for. It wasn't much. They did it on a super tight budget. You could have done it too, and you chose not to. You teased me with a dick biting scene, but you didn't give me one. Thank you, Chum, so much for giving me the dick biting scene that I have been asking for at least a couple of weeks now. Oh, God. So Kat hears him scream, and when she goes out, he's dead. Marcus is now this zombie man shark thing. I don't really know what the rules are. I don't know who's turning into what. But he pins down Kat, and she grabs a gun and says, "Shark Week's over," and then shoots him, and then she's just covered in fucking blood. So she goes to the kitchen to clean up, and the shark swims out of the sink, and she flips out saying it's her birthday and like she's done with this shit. She's kind of like fucking Dante in Clerks. I wasn't supposed to be here today, except it's my birthday today. But anyways, she Ed Woods with this shark, running around the house as if it's attacking her with it in her hands and yelling at it. And then she says, "Fuck this." She goes, puts it in the garbage disposal, turns it on, puts it into little tiny pieces. And then she goes to the garage and grabs a hammer, and as she searches the house, she comes across a bigger shark and hammers at it and then locks herself in the bathroom. In the living room, the sharks have like put some music on, or I think they're in like the kitchen or something. As they do, like one of them is getting into the kitty litter, and then Kat turns it into Chum in the garbage disposal again. And then like after all of that, she looks at the camera and says, "Now let's get the fuck out of here." Again, just another fourth wall break for no apparent reason, but I don't hate it though. It was kind of funny. I don't know, like it doesn't need to be there, but like I don't hate that it's there. I thought it was kind of funny. She walks around and Danny's on the couch petting a stuffed shark and asks where she's going, and like he's just all weird. And he also has like this like very thick southern accent on now, which I don't think he's always had. Like I think he's had somewhat of a southern accent maybe, but now it's just like he's like, "Well, now I do declare I am no big city lawyer." Like that kind of shit. Like just out of nowhere. I don't know like what he's doing. But yeah, anyways, he asks like where Kat's going and if she's going to like cheat on him and if the baby's still his and all of that fucking shit. And then I'm pretty sure he's just a shark man now, so like why are we doing this? This doesn't matter. Also, he has no balls, so like I guess that's going to solve all of his like future having kid problems though. So, I mean, that's good. So, she tries to run away, but she slips on his testicles in the garage. And then again, Shark Girl, that's how you do it. And then we just see Danny run towards Kat. And then we cut to the sheriff coming into the house, and again, he's Marcus's stepbrother. He looks around the house and he shoots at the sharks, and then like we see another shark like fucking around in a cat tunnel, and then like the sheriff shoots another shark and then goes to the garage, and Danny is holding Kat by the throat, and so she kind of distracts him while the sheriff sneaks up on him and shoots him. And Kat just sits there laughing away and then thanks him for saving her and says like sorry about your brother. And I think that's like the only context we get for that this was Marcus's brother or whatever. Like we mentioned him a few times and then like this is the only time we actually see him and have any confirmation that that's who he is. Like he doesn't really matter that much, but it feels like he was supposed to matter a little bit more. I don't really know. And then she asks if he likes Ocean City, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm kind of done with the ocean. You know, maybe we could go to Nebraska." And she's like, "Okay." So I'm like, "Okay, well, I guess that was easy. Maybe tell him you're pregnant too, because he looks like an older dude as well. So I don't know, maybe just fill him in on that." And then we cut to black and get some narration about someone's experience of going to the city and then the outbreak of violence and then stock footage of riots. And then we see Kat come out of the garage all bloody as it rains and she walks away. Where did the sheriff dude go? Like who's narrating? Who am I? I don't know. We get some text bullshit like people have been hunting sharks for years and now we're the chum. Some clever text at the end. But for our mid-credit scene, folks, we get, and I didn't realize who this was, but again, I rewatched the movie, and I'm pretty sure this is Dr. Strauss, who is breastfeeding a baby shark. That's not how that works. But great. Honestly, I hope this gets a sequel of some sort because I would like to see this explored a little bit more. Not like too much, just a little bit. But yeah, that was it for Chum. I mean, based on my experience with the trailer, I had a pretty good idea of what to expect, and I pretty much got that. So it kind of, met my like poster or like trailer expectations, I guess. I was hoping for a little bit more shark nonsense. We definitely got a lot, but I was hoping for maybe a little bit more violence and gore, but I mean, it's still pretty okay for what we got. And some less of these nonsense conversations and maybe a bit tighter of a script, because I feel like there were some ideas that didn't get explored, so they should have just like cut it out. But there's something more important we need to talk about. Dick bite. That alone makes this a 5-star movie. I am giving this movie 5 stars because of that dick bite, and solely because Shark Girl teased me with it and didn't give it to me. So if it wasn't for Shark Girl, I'd give this like maybe a 3 or something, because I was pretty fucking entertained by it. But I'm going with a full fucking 5 because of Shark Girl. Yeah, I mean, it's just it's just a lot of fun. It's entertaining. It's on Tubi. It's only like an hour and 8 minutes. I highly recommend just checking it out, if you want to have a good time with some silly shark movies. But that is it for me this week, guys. Thank you so much for listening or watching. As I said before, if you could like, subscribe, leave a review or rating, all of that stuff helps. And if you want to support the podcast, patreon.com/bucketofchum. But I'll see you guys next time for even more Bucket of Chum.